Hello, and welcome to another one of our Love Reading Fabulous Author events. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Well, I should tell you who I am first, actually. Forgot that. I'm Joy Port, and I'm fortunate enough to be one of the part of the reading review team for Love Reading for Kids. And our guests today are, first, let me introduce you to Bethany. Bethany is one of our reading ambassadors. She's in year 7, and her librarian tells me she's an avid reader in the library daily and attends the fortnightly reading group and an enthusiastic participant in any of the activities that are organised. And I think you're applying to be a student librarian this term. Is that right? Well,
Yes.
good luck with that. Bethany reads a variety of genres, although her favourite is probably fantasy, which makes her the perfect choice for this interview with our fabulous author today, Ash Bond. Her amazing debut novel, Peregrine Quinn and the Cosmic Realm, was published by Piccadilly Press in spring 2024 to great acclaim, not least from me, and has just now been released in paperback. This is the first title in an epic middle grade fantasy series that's infused with classical mythology, which has been Ash's passion ever since she first picked up a book of Greek myths in her local library. But her secondary school didn't offer classes in classics, so she had to pursue classes in her own time. She went on to graduate in classics from Oxford University before leaving to work in Asia for almost 5 years, teaching English literature in Malaysia and working as an outdoor guide in China. And it was on those long mountain hikes she realised the power of a good story to get you through anything. And after returning to the UK, she completed a master's in writing for young people at Bath Spa and is now studying for a PhD at the University of Bristol, focusing on mythological retellings through a feminist lens, which sounds fabulous. Now, I know Bethany loved this book as much as I did when I reviewed it for Love Reading, and she has some great questions lined up. So over to you, Bethany.
Thank you, Joy. Ash, what gave you the idea for the book?
Oh, that's a very good question. And like all of the very good questions that you're going to ask me, it's also going to be a very tricky one because where do ideas come from? So, just like Joy was saying, I have studied myth, read about myth, and I've talked about myth for long years. And so, when I was doing my master's, in writing for young people, I was writing something very serious and very sensible and something very upsetting. And I was writing this, like, yes, I'm going to write a very serious book about everything. And and then I just kept trying to write it. And you know what happened? An image of a fawn came into my mind. It was Cal, and it was a fawn was sitting at a desk with a coffee in his hand, with an iPad-like device. We call them COSPads in Peregrine, and with paperwork everywhere. And he just popped into my head. And once you've got an image of a fawn doing low-level administration in a basement, you've sort of got an entire world kind of arriving in your head. And then, honestly, from then on, it wasn't really like I was creating the world. It was almost as if Cal had took me by the hand and was just taking me around, going, "Oh yeah, that's there, and then that's there, and then that's over there." So it was. Let's not call it an easy process because writing's not easy, but the idea process was pretty easy.
Yeah, thank you. Where did you get inspiration for the other characters?
Oh, another very good question. So, like I said, myth has always been around, buzzing around my brain. And I think when Cal was introducing me to the world, um, lots of characters started wandering in there as well. So, Daedalus is another character in Peregrine Quinn. He's a Peregrine Quinn's godfather. And Daedalus is the name of a great architect and designer from the ancient world who designed the labyrinth. And Bethany's watching because Bethany knows. He designed the labyrinth. And so when I was looking for a grand architect, Daedalus seemed just the right person. But of course, I don't know what Daedalus was really like in the ancient world. So he wandered into my brain in the form of my very good friend who is sorry, I would refer to as my godfather, called John, who was also an amazing designer. So I think lots of the characters are a combination of people in my life that I know and I love, as well as mythological characters and creatures that I feel that I know and love. So together, they've mashed together and become other characters in the book.
Yes, thank you. My favourite character is Peregrine. Is she based on anyone?
Interesting question, Bethany. So, yes, my interesting question. So when my boyfriend read this, he was like, "She's quite annoying, isn't she? Sometimes." He's like, "She reminds me a lot about. She reminds me a lot of you." But I think I wrote Peregrine as somebody who I wanted her to have all the characters that I really wanted. I wanted her to be brave and bold and sort of not afraid to pull a panel off a aquapod and have a look inside. I wanted her to be really curious. In my head, actually, I was thinking of her as, the goddess Athene, the goddess of invention. I wanted her to have a little bit of that, like a little bit of spark of curiosity in her that was like burning like an ember inside of her. So I think I wrote that, those elements inside of her. But to be honest, I'm probably a little bit more like Rowan. I'm a little bit afraid of authority, like do a lot of reading, that kind of thing.
But I can't help but think, there is a strong similarity, isn't there?
Yes, there is a strong resemblance. Honestly, the first round of cover design was hilarious. The muscles they gave Peregrine, I think, they do a lot of rock climbing. I think they'd given her kind of the equivalent bicep. And I was like, guys, she's 12. Let's just tone the muscle tone down a little bit, shall we? But yeah, so yes, Peregrine has elements of me, as I'm sure all authors' characters do.
Did you always plan for it to be a series? And if so, how many books have you got planned?
Good question. So there are these really annoying things called publishing contracts, right? So I when I wrote it, I like you, Bethany, when I was your age, I loved just being in fantasy worlds. I wanted to be in them for as long as I possibly could. And now I'm writing the third book of this series. I want to be in this world for as long as I possibly can. But we shall see, right? We shall see. I think big question mark there. But at the moment, we've got 3 books planned. So it'll be a trilogy, and then we'll see if we can come back to it later.
That's exciting.
I'm excited for the second book. What can we expect from Peregrine?
Will I give you a sneaky peek look at the front cover? I've got the proof. There we go. Look at this. So Peregrine Quinn and the Mask of Chaos.
It's
So
amazing.
Peregrine. Oh my God, I can't believe that. So exciting, isn't it? It's so, and I honest, phew, that's a big relief there from the writer there, Bethany. What should we expect? We're going back to the cosmic realm. So in the first book, Peregrine is desperate to go to the cosmic realm, to explore the cosmic realm, because she knows there's something there that she needs to find. In the second book, she actually gets invited back to compete in the cosmic game. So what to expect? We can expect conspiracy, mechanical animals, big set pieces, lots of laser blasting, whole works. And rebellion.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Promise you it is very good. Do you like watching gladiators? You know, the
Yes.
news does it. Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yes, there's elements of that. It's fab.
Now, Ash, why did you make Bernadette such a crucial part to the ending?
Ooh, well, no spoilers, of course,
Had we better
but
tell people what Bernadette is?
oh, so Bernadette is so Bernadette is a plant. It was grown. They were grown by Daedalus. This is Daedalus carrying Bernadette round in a pot. So, Bernadette was always going to be incredibly central because, like everyone who is interested in being part of the conversation of where we are and how we exist in the world, I'm very interested in the environment. And that doesn't mean that I had to make it very big messaging in the book, but I really wanted the natural world to be the answer because I think we all know that it really is. So that will be a thread that goes through all of the books without you getting hit around the face with it.
I really enjoyed the ending as it was very exciting. What are your top tips when trying to write a gripping section of the book?
Oh, well, I have to go for a run first. That's what I have to do. I have to do something very, very active because honestly, my heart thumps whenever I'm writing action scenes. I sweat and I sort of have adrenaline going through me. Um, I sort of clench everything up because I get very invested in my characters. And I also write, I don't know if you knew this about me, Bethany, but I also write longhand first. So I always write longhand. Um, so I find that if you want to try it, it can be quite interesting to see how that works. If you're writing a very speedy scene, sometimes that flow can help you. But I think the other thing I would say is always do that thing that you're afraid of. You know, if you think something might fall down, let it fall down and just see what happens. If you think someone might get hurt, maybe let them get hurt and see what they do afterwards. I think. I would say that's a good way of approaching an action scene.
Thank you. You've been nominated for the Branford Boase Award this year. How do you feel about this and what does it mean to you?
It means the absolute world to me, and I will tell you two, well, I'll tell you the first. I'll tell you three. I'll tell you three reasons. First is because I got to tell my mum. That was really exciting. And the second reason is because it's Branford Boase is so important because it celebrates the relationship between the author and their editor. And I have the most wonderful editor in Ruth Bennett. And I think often when we talk about the creation of books as beautiful artifacts and objects that we all love, um, we think about them as being an author's gift to somebody. Whereas really there are dozens of people behind the scenes, and the editor is there working with all of these people so that you can do your writing job and the other people can do their jobs. So that's another really important reason. And the last job is because lots of my friends were also nominated for the Branford Boase as well, Branford Boase. And that was really lovely to see all of our faces there together on the posters. That was really lovely.
We perhaps ought to explain the Branford Boase is an award that goes for a debut book.
Ah, yes.
It's it's got a fantastic history if people look it up, the sort of people that have won in the past, and it's because I've had the privilege of judging it one year, and what you're looking for is spotting the talent that you think has got legs, that will go far, that will go on. And if you look at the list of people who've won it and what they've done since, it is It is pretty good. So it's amazing, and it was such a brilliant year this year, I think. It's
Yeah, really inspiring,
yeah.
very, very inspiring collection of people.
The pictures inside the book cover are amazing. How did you decide which illustrator to use, and what's the process for choosing them?
Oh. Well, Bethany, first of all, you get an amazing editor that helps you out choosing. But the pictures inside are the illustrations, the character art done by Bree Schmieder. And um, I was offered a number of different illustrators. And what you do is you are given examples of their work that they've done for other authors. And Bree's work, I thought, had such a dynamic quality to it. It looked like art. It looked like a painting. And I think the front cover is incredible. It's done by a studio called Two Dots. And you see how no, they do the Assassin's Creed sort of video game stuff, they're like really like dynamic, cool action, like moving forward, like this is what you'll find in this action-focused book. And on the inside, I think Bree's art gives another quality. But you'll also find heart. You'll also find these characters, that have life and breath in them. And I thought that's really what she brought to the project.
How
Yeah.
did her vision come quite close to how you'd seen the characters in your own head? I get the impression that you are very much a visual person when trying to imagine scenes and things.
I'm a very visual person. Yeah, I was an art teacher for quite a long time as well. So I feel very she was Brie was incredible actually. I gave her lots and lots of notes, lots and lots of notes. I gave her lots of pictures of my family members that I based them on. For example, John and Nim is based on my godmother Jackie. And Jarvis in the second book is very much based on my friend Dan. So Brie had the images that I had of the people that I loved in her head to bring forward, and I think that really really helped as well. But on the visual front, yes, I do a lot of drawing before I start writing as well, especially for the cos text. So I have a sketchbook that I put all of the technology in.
Bethany, did you feel that these images matched the sort of picture you got in your head, or what did the pictures come first? Did you look at them? But I mean, I just think the descriptions as you're reading the book really match the pictures. It's a fabulous reading experience.
Yeah, I agree very much. The illustrations are amazing, and the description before looking at the pictures, you can tell what the characters are going to look like.
I'm so interested to know who your favorite character is, Bethany. Am I allowed to ask?
Yeah.
So did you say Peregrine was your favorite character?
Yes, Peregrine.
It might be Cal for me. I've got a very soft spot.
Yes, true. Yeah.
But
Love
on the
an
other
underdog,
hand,
me.
as a librarian, it should be Rowan, shouldn't it, really?
Okay. We can go beyond our roles, I feel. That's okay.
How long did it take you to write the book, and what was the hardest part to write?
So the first book is an interesting question, isn't it? Because I started writing it and I was like, oh, I've got the world, I've got the characters. What do they do? What's the story? So I had the world, and that really wasn't a problem for me. And I had the characters, I knew who they were, but I wasn't really sure of what the story was. So the plot was the hardest for me. And to be honest, I found it quite difficult to write it initially because I wanted to write it in the multi-point of view, quite strange way that I write. And I kept getting told that stories for children are told from one point of view and they are told in a certain voice, and this is how you should write it. And that made the process a bit longer for me. So I started writing in 2019, I think, and Peregrine was published in 2024. But book two, I wrote in a year, and book three, I am writing in a little bit less than a year. So we are getting faster. Thank goodness.
What motivated you to become an author?
Oh, that's a lovely question. I have always written, and I know that wasn't your question as to what, but I think it is linked there because I think being an author is a lot of luck. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of luck. So I think when I was little, I would write to understand the world, really. I wonder whether you're the same. Sometimes when I saw something, in order to process it or understand it, I would write it down. And so I kept doing that, and I would tell myself stories. And I kept on doing that. And that's really sort of how I kind of evolved to become a writer. And then I just kept telling myself stories. And now I'm very, very lucky, and it is luck, but now I get to tell other people stories as well. And that's where the author switch happened.
What is your favourite part about being an author?
So last July, this is very jammy. Last July, I love to rock climb. It's one of my favorite things to do. And last July, didn't have any school visits, and I had a little break from my PhD teaching and my graduate teaching. So I took myself to an island with a notebook, with this notebook. And I wrote for 3 weeks. I wrote, and wow, that was work. I couldn't believe it. So that is one of my favorite things, but also my other favorite thing um is to be out and talk to people who've read the book. I mean, obviously writing is always going to be my favorite thing about the process because I'm a writer. It's always going to be my favorite thing. But being able to talk to people who've read the book, it blows my mind. Still, honestly, when you said you'd read the book, Bethany, I'm like, how? How did you read the book? Where did you find this book? Like, how do you know who Cal is? How do you know who Peregrine is? How have you been looking inside my head? So yes, it's always very wild.
Do you enjoy that side of being an author as well, then the meeting, doing the school visits? Because it's not always necessarily something, just because you're a writer, that you'll enjoy going out and doing public speaking and visiting schools and things, but you like it.
I do. I love to talk. Yeah. I talk for England. But yes, I think I really, really enjoy talking about the characters and also because I love the characters. I love the book and talking to people about Peregrine and Cal and Rowan and Hecate and Daedalus and Nim. It's just like talking to people about my friends. I really, really do like it. I mean, obviously there are lots of things that are can get a little bit tiring about doing it, but honestly, I think the school visits, I really love them.
I mean, do you think that's what makes the book so successful? Because you're writing the book almost for yourself. And if it makes you happy, as you know, it's something you wanted to have read when you were a child. That's what you're aiming for, is it, do you think?
Yes, I'm aiming for me as a child, but I'm also aiming for me now. I mean, it's definitely for me as a child, but it's also for me now. If one of the things that annoys me most about um no, just I mean that's unfair, but I I love a well-written book. I love a funny book that's genuinely funny in some places. So I think if I love just making myself laugh and creating these worlds and getting to explore them. But yes, it's a very, very selfish selfish activity. I can't believe I get paid for this. But yeah, no, it's a very, very selfish activity. Um exploring this world and being as detailed as possible and with the cosmic realm and the further we go into the series and the more you explore, I wanted to be really specific about the logic behind it. Everything has a very specific reason, and things don't just happen. I have a very short attention span for whimsical magical adventure, um, where where magic just solves lots of things. I have this much space for that. So I think magic for me it's a very useful tool to be used in world building, I think. So yeah, so very, very much for me. I'm just writing a book I want to read. For you guys as well, obviously. Absolutely, 100%. 100% for you. Awesome.
Ash, other than rock climbing, what do you do when you're not writing?
I like to run. I like to run. A second after we finished here, I'll go for a run. And then I will go and put some vegetables in my car, and then I'm going to drive to Wales because tomorrow I'm going to go for a big walk. So I really love to go camping and walking and seeing the outside. Adventure is really important to me. So I do try and give myself time to have adventures. So I've got things that I can write about and offer them up in the books. So yes, I read adventure is a really good hobby of mine. Yeah.
Lots of authors actually say that walking is how the ideas form in their heads. So as you're walking along through Wales, you're actually in the cosmic realm. Are you exploring? And
Really interesting question. I think walking is a wonderful way of doing nothing. So I try not to even to sort of not take it in my take the characters with my brain so much. I think it's almost like when you're in this like beautiful kind of choppy sea all of the time and you're traveling around and on your little boat and you're like "Whirr." And then walking for me is where it goes completely calm. And then only then am I able to maybe at one point I'll look over and I go, oh, that's what it was, because the water is very clear. But that is but so I almost make it a point to try and not go on a walk with a plot problem or something like that. I'll leave that I can do that while sitting. But you know when when it's in your head, it's in your head, isn't it? You're always kind of thinking about it. It is always there. But yeah, I do try and keep my walks for being in the world. You know, the world is so beautiful. I mean, and I'm in my head all the time. You know, I really would like to be in the world, you know. So as well, I think that's really important.
is writing something that you'd like to do, Bethany, do you think?
Yes, I think I would because I've always loved reading stories, as you know, and I have always tried to write some stories, but I always get like I run out of ideas. But if I could get more ideas, then yes, I think I would.
And how do you like your fantasy? You've said fantasy is your favorite genre. So what sort of thing is it that you particularly like about fantasy?
Well, I like the fact it's always adventurous and you can have like all kinds of different mythical creatures in myths, and in a way they don't have to make sense because you could just put anything down and it could fit into
Yeah.
fantasy.
I love that too. I love how fantasy has opened up a door, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
opens up a door to possibility. I think it's a wonderful genre for that.
Yeah.
So I think overall I was correct in thinking that this was a perfect match for Bethany and our author Ash Bond and these fabulous books. Um, it's been such a privilege listening to your conversation, the two of you. It's been great fun. And remember, Peregrine Quinn and the Cosmic Realm is out now in paperback as well. Not one to be missed. Get that read, and you will be all set for this fabulous sequel, which Peregrine Quinn and the Mask of Chaos comes in April, I believe. Yes.
It does, my goodness me, Bethany. It has been such a privilege to be interviewed by you. Yeah, I am so I'm cannot wait to know what happens with your reading and your writing, and good luck with all of your book clubs and your librarianship. Oh, absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, Ash.
Thank you very much, both of you. It's been fabulous.